scenes first, and this is going to be a seminar about taxes. Now we're going to go over here and we're going to click here to begin your live text. Say something about your taxes. Let's go right here. July 4th, 2017, new tax scheme, free range tax system. That's U.S. S. Free range tax system. Okay. Alright. The 2017? It is, isn't it? New tax system. Begin your live broadcast. One. Hello, my name is David Aaron Gregg, and we're here with Giving Goal. Okay, now here's the tax system which I'm proposing. The tax system I am proposing is the free range tax system, which allows us to use our debit card as we go around anywhere in the world. As we spend, we put a nest egg away and a Social Security tax and all the taxes into one. We do away with property tax because that makes no sense with the new frontiers that are going to be opening up for exploration and stuff. If you set out and you go out into space, you can't owe property tax when you come back 3 years later on your vehicle. Okay, you shouldn't have to go out here and have a ransom to be reassimilated after you've forged your way in the wilderness. Whether you've purchased a piece of land and built infrastructure to where it will sustain life or is livable, that should be yours after you've paid for it. But as we're out here spending with our debit cards, we're paying to our geological location a small percentage of our spendings. Everything goes on spendings. No more worried about your earnings, but every spending pays a small fraction. Now, India right this second has a system going on right now that is just on that, on what you spend while you're there on tourists and everybody. It's all designed to be captured by all the commerce that is done in their area. But they put some kind of 28%, 15% in these different brackets, which probably makes sense if they're luxury items. But it can't be right, or it wouldn't be this large percentage for any of it. It would probably all be 15 across the board or something, just to eliminate bureaucratic discretion. Okay, because it might be something that somebody else deems a luxury item, but you know it's just quality that you're actually buying, something that will last, instead of being forced to buy something that won't last. The different levels of quality that they sell. I mean, if you got to save up a little bit more to get that next level of quality that'll last you 3 times as long as the conventional scapegoat merchandise is, you get better merchandise. Anyhow, that's how I see that a little bit. But there's let's see how I can describe this the best we can do it. Right now in the United States, we have a town, county, and state group of government employees capable of voting themselves access to more and more of our assets on an annual basis, almost like that's their duty and what they're supposed to do. While we got 2-story fire departments popping up in every district of our county, we cannot get a bus route on every highway of our county from fire department to fire department to the hub, fire department to fire department, a chain, whatever they got to do. They can incorporate the deputies there too. But we got a whole bunch of people voting themselves access to our money to facilitate this little tax here, this little tax here. And meanwhile, while you're forced to go out here and accommodate this money, you have to pay the state, and then you have to pay the federal as you rotate trying to get this money to pay to the property taxes. Now you have to pay insurances to be able to drive back and forth because they won't give you bus routes, but they will build big fire departments and add more staff instead of streamlining sheriff's department, fire department, and the bus system into a quick response system throughout a chain of commerce, which the roads are a chain of commerce. Anyhow, if we got rid of all these layers of taxes, I mean, our labor, when we get paid, whoever pays us is going to still pay that tax. And everything we buy, we're going to pay that tax. So whenever we have money, we'll be more incentivized to spend money. And then them incentives to spend money will give us funding for incentives to provide medicine and have excellent in academics. Those people need to be incentivized. Honest to God, your appetite, once you get a little older, you find out you really didn't need all that commercialized stuff, I would hope, or disposable stuff, I would hope. Fads and all that stuff, I hope. So the incentive is really, check it out, from 15 to 34 incentive system. Because once you will get set in your ways and want to do something if you had a proper incentive system to build the regiment of doing stuff. Now, some things I did that a lot of people didn't do, which was run wild as a kid in school. I mean, I stayed home a lot. I had a problem. It was more pleasant for the whole ecosystem that I ran through the woods and stayed at home. But anyhow, we got to get a better regiment than they're illustrating now. They get up way too early and they get off work way too early to make it feasible for a profitable chain of events each day. You're forced through compulsory laws to have to attend school if you're a minor child in the state in which I live. We got to do away with this narrow bracket they got us on, because if they're forced to do association, why can't they open up their perimeters of operation to accommodate working everyday people like Susan, who's the waitress, that has the best option of making money for her family between the hours of 5 o'clock and 8:30, 9 o'clock. 8 o'clock. I mean, 8 o'clock should be the cutoff for the school operation. 8 to 8. Kids only allowed to be there 8 hours a day, but any point within that 8 hours. All they have to do is have a regiment of activities to warm them up into the first. You drop them off and then they have to run the obstacle course unsupervised until they get through the door. What's that obstacle course? Well, it needs to take up about an hour of their time. So do an hour of walking and then put obstacles in the way to where they might have to do a little running. Since they're dropped off at the door, have them something to do. Get that energy, I don't know. But what we got now ain't working. Getting off at 3 o'clock, having to find a secondary care provider for your child before your workday, a normal workday, would end at 5. So you got to have a secondary provider. So then the state has another staff that's overlapping, or anyhow, whole nother payroll and a whole nother everything. It don't work. Oh mercy, today is not the best day for making these videos because it ain't flowing. Let's see, how can I get you guys to understand what you got to do? We got to eliminate insurance companies. We have to roll back the patent laws, intellectual technology laws that are suppressing the educational system. Because if you can't even reference old photographs of machines and documents of post-internet because of intellectual technology been snagged up on it. 75 years, that's a long time to have some intellectual technology patent laws. If you don't want people to see and replicate what you have created, don't put it out on the market. Because once they buy that merchandise, they have all kinds of they're allowed to dissect, they're allowed to use it, implement it. If they only need a part of it, and they can fabricate a part of it to implement somewhere else, you shouldn't, we got to have a little bit free-flowing innovation than what we have now. Now, if we're going to have regulations on flying and stuff, we need to do that. But it shouldn't be every system of transportation can get patented and locked away from the general public to where we have to stick with the archaic combustion method. We need to come together like a sensible country of people with this tax on a debit card as we spend, and one little itty bitty tiny piece of that tax is going to go all at once to a fund to buy up all them intellectual technologies, freeze the debt, and dig us out of where we're at. One little percentage of our spending as we're spending, not as when we're at rest and we don't have any cash flow. We should not be incurring a bill to landlords. We should be sovereign with our possessions. We shouldn't be able to be manipulated through the appropriation process for the physical local governments, sporadicating our assets. The local governments, all level of governments, sporadicate the individual citizens' personal assets and securities in pursuit of their common salaries and securities, they believe. I don't know. Everybody knows jobs are going away. That's why we got to have an incentive program between 15 and 35. Because, I mean, you got college kids running the DSS as interns. Now, what kind of maternal instincts or maternal tendencies have they showed by the time they're in college? Well, they feel a hollow void, but other than that, that needs to be a role for older, more experienced people. You don't necessarily have to be had been a parent, but you should be older and experienced, and that would smooth out a lot more of the problems than this he said, she said stuff of the everybody setting their snares everywhere, and then a bunch of allegations fly. And the allegation, evidently, most times, I don't know, I guess most times, almost every time, find somebody guilty, so the state and the accuser have that much more ammo next time. They just think, well, okay, well, you fucked up. And I just did too. Off to the slammer, they accused you. Well, you can have prayer for judgment, we'll still hold that against you. Somebody will be able to hold all this against you, no matter what it is. If it's an allegation, you might as well be condemned. I wonder if it's live or the camera. One way or the other, I'm not resonating. So let's see if we can get it to resonate. If we all pay one sales tax that preserves the town, the county, the state, and the federal governments for a phase-out time, because the town and the county are almost irrelevant after the watershed has been contaminated from the source. The towns and the counties haven't offered to protect the individual citizens' habitats, but exploit them for salaries and personal gain, development for nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing, but to destroy what we got. Not to cultivate what we got. We got water flowing down through here. I got one little pond, 2 little ponds, 3 little ponds, and a quarter mile at the head. Well, that's only how far to the beach? No. But you go all the way from Watauga, top of Watauga, 2 rivers. Watauga Lake is a big old power plant and was well used. The other side has gradual, slow drop off, which is perfect for trout farms, which don't seem to be enough of them. Maybe people don't like trout. Yeah, I don't know. But there's nowhere near all that could be produced of the aquatic atmosphere if we could get rid of the salt trucks or whatever's killing all these things, whatever it is. If we get rid of it, I think it's called the Appalachian State University in the town of Boone. I mean, this restaurant's clean detergent, and it seems to me that they changed all that stuff since back in the day when there was fish and crayfish. We need to evacuate top of the mountain, let the water resources, the beavers making their dams, and if we're not going to do it, lakes, ponds, fresh water. Everybody says they need fresh, clean water. Well, we're building a big old city right on top of it. So we need this one sales tax nationwide, every citizen participating, whether they're in the United States or abroad. With every penny, every time you spend $1, there's 15 cents until we can get that 15 cent down to 5 cents. But I think 15 cents is going to be high. They're saying 28% on certain luxury items, I would imagine, in India right now, and need to level it all out and get it for that 15% or less range to be acceptable. It might take 20%. It just depends, but the more you pay, remember, we're going to have a percentage of every transaction going into that account for investing. And that account for investing and buying the intellectual technologies will be your true retirement, not this what we got now. Live, 20 minutes. We'll try again because I'm all dressed up. Behind the scenes.